We are in Eyn Yaakov. Please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, hit the notifications. Now all those different ways, you'll be sure to never miss a video, and it's going to go right to the top of YouTube page. Okay, we are in the Gemara Shabbat, 59a, 3 for those in the article. And we're dealing, the Mishnah had said that one should not walk out with a city of gold. That was a, what do you call it? A tiara. What would you call a tiara? That was one of the things. The reason you shouldn't walk out with a city of gold, well, he's going to explain it, but the Gemara will explain. The reason one should not walk out, a woman should not walk out with a woman, a city of gold on her head, the tiara, is because people, they were afraid, again, we'll deal with those, they were afraid that they may take it off to show their friends, which is why we can't do a lot of things. The problem is if I can wear something, even though they're clothes or ornaments like rings and everything else, if I'm going to, if there's a possibility that I'm going to take it off to show my friends, and literally not just like here's my ring, but that's what girls like to do, but to take it off and say, here, look, isn't it beautiful? Because they say, is it gold? Is it this? So let me see, 14 karat. They take out their little glasses and they look for the 14 karat gold or whatever it's going to be. And so that's really what it is. So now that's the introduction. Okay, so it says, the Mishnah stated, Lo be'ir shel zahav, and a woman may not go out with a city of gold. So the Gemara asks, my be'ir shel zahav? What does the Mishnah mean when it says a city of gold, with a city of gold? So Rabbi Bar Bachana, Amar Rav Yochanan, Rabbi Bar Bachana said in the name of Rav Yochanan, Yerushalayim Dahava. The Mishnah refers to a golden ornament engraved with the likeness of the city of Jerusalem. Kida'ava le Rav Akiva lebitu, like the ornament Rav Akiva fashioned for his wife. So he explains that the Gemara in the Darim, it relates that Rabbi Akiva was married to the daughter of the wealthy Kalaba Savua, who refused to support the young couple because at that point Rabbi Akiva was as yet unlearned. That was Kalaba Savua's way to break up the marriage. He wanted his daughter, he was a rich man. So the thing is to marry your daughter to a Talmud Chacham. And since he didn't even know how to read Hebrew, as a matter of fact, it says that, I think it was Rabbi Akiva. He's Rabbi Akiva, Rav Meir. I forget which one. No, Rabbi Akiva, everything was. That it says that he hated the rabbi so much that because of all he saw was the massive decrees that they would levy upon the Jewish people, and he did not understand why they were doing that. He thought they were the enemy of the people. So he said if he would see them, he would bite them like a donkey. In other words, a harsh bite. So, and then of course, as he learned Torah, he realized how great the rabbis were and becomes one of them. Okay, but at this point, the father's trying to break up the shidduch. So he says, I won't support you. Rav Akiva sought to console his wife during their time of hardship by promising her that when he was able, he would fashion her a golden ornament engraved with the likeness of Yerushalayim. The Gemara in the Darim does not explicitly state that Rav Akiva, in fact, fashioned the ornament. Okay, fine. So Tosfot note that although the wearing of crowns of brides was forbidden at the time of destruction of the temple, and the Gemara in Sota explains the crown of brides to be referring to a crown engraved with the likeness of the city of Yerushalayim. This does not pose a contradiction to our Mishnah, which forbids wearing such crowns only on Shabbat. But the edict forbidding such crowns only applied to the brides and not to other women. This difficulty does not arise according to Rashi. For instance, our Gemara is referring to a clasp engraved with the likeness of Yerushalayim rather than a crown. So whatever it was some sort of thing that had the likeness of Yerushalayim, whether it be a necklace, whether it be a crown. The point is, that's what it was. Okay, so then it says, and that's the end of that. We're not going to go any further. Like I said, the reason that they wouldn't want to go, the rabbis would not allow them to go out, was because they were afraid that they were going to take it off. Okay, so now we go to the next part of that, and it is, where did I just see it? Okay, so Amrulay Rav. All right, so Amrulay Rav, the sage said to Rav, Ata Gavra Rabba Arichal and Hadria. A great man who was very tall came to Hardia, Umatla, and he was limping. Darash Kalila Shri. And he taught that wearing a tiara outside on the Shabbat is permitted. Okay, that's, by the way, you should know there's a whole Gemara in between that what we just read. So, we're just going for the storylines here. So it's, nonetheless, you can imagine what's going on and getting into why we can't wear it, who can wear it, who cannot wear it, and so on and so forth. So he says, so the man came. So he says, the sages told Rav that a sage had arrived from Israel and started a ruling that issued there that permitted the wearing of tiara outside on Shabbat. They did not, however, know the identity of the sage. The Ritva explains that the sage taught that wearing a tiara made of a jeweled, studded fabric was permitted. Thus, his teaching conformed with Rav's opinion, according to Rav Ashi's interpretation of the dispute between Rav and Shmuel, in line with the general rule, that when Rav and Shmuel dispute a matter of ritual law, the halacha accords with Rav. He maintains that this is a view of Rashi as well. Okay, so now, Amar, so Rav said, Man Gavra Rabba Richa Ditla, who is a great man who is very tall and limps? Levi, it must be Levi. And Levi became lame as a result of an injury he suffered while demonstrating an intricate form of ritual prostration before Rebbe. Okay, so we read about this. I forget where we read. We did it in this class, I believe, where he was trying to show how you bow, and he was on his. I don't know what happened, but he hurt himself. So from that point on, he limped. So he says, Shema mina nach nafshe de Ravi afes. So from this, the fact that Levi had come, we can deduce that Rabbi Afes, who was the head of the academy in Eretz Yisrael, must have died. Vitev Rav Chanina Beresha, and Rav Chanina, with whom Levi had been studying, is now the head of the academy. And he says, Rashi supplies historical background to the situation. Rebbe, who was the head of the academy in Eretz Yisrael, had stated on his deathbed that Rabbi Chanina was to head the academy after him. When Rebbe passed away, however, Rabbi Chanina refused to assume the position because he did not wish to subject Rab Afes, who was 2.5 years his senior, to the embarrassment of being subordinate to his junior. So Rabbi Afes then assumed the position, and Rabbi Chanina, who was at least Rabbi Afes' equal in wisdom, studied outside the academy, so that a scholar of Rabbi Chanina's stature would not be left to study alone. Levi, who was a colleague of his, would study with him rather than under Rabbi Afes. Okay, you got that whole thing? So you had, Rebbe wanted Rabbi Chanina to take over. Rabbi Chanina didn't want to take over because he was said it would be an affront to a person 2.5 years older than him. And so he let him take over when he died. So that's when Rabbi Chanina went in. And then you had his Levi, what did it say? Levi would go to, right, so so therefore now nobody came to, right, so Levi didn't have a place to sit, because now he used to be the Chavrusa, now he's out of luck. Okay, V'kati Alacha, and that's why he came here to study here. Okay, right, V'kati Alacha. So he came to study here to seek a teacher. Fine. Levi was the equal of Rabbi Chanina in both years and scholarship, and he therefore did not feel beholding to remain with Rabbi Chanina once Rabbi Chanina had assumed the position at the head of the academy and was no longer studying alone. So so you have, it's an interesting storyline that that Levi was taking to open up his own yeshiva. Apparently, he wanted somebody else to learn with. So he leaves Eretz Yisrael. He goes to Nahardiyah, and that's it. Fine. So he says. So the Gemara says, wait a second. How do we know that Rabbi Afes had died? Perhaps it was Rabbi Chanina who died. For Rabbi Afes get the Kai, and Rabbi Afes still stands in his place as the head of the Eretz Yisrael's academy. But as a result of Chanina's death, Rabbi Chanina's death, Levi had no sage with whom he could learn and study. And that's why he came here to Nahardiyah. Why couldn't you say that case? Why do you have to say the other one died? Okay? So the Gemara says, Imi to the Rav Chanina Shchiv. Rav reasoned that if it was so that Rav Chanina had died, Levi, the Rav Afes, make of Havikayavle. Levi would have subordinated himself to the authority of Rav Afes, who was older than Levi. Thus, it must have been Rav Afes who had died. But and furthermore, Rav knew that Rav Chanina had not died. To Rav Chanina lo sagi de lo malach. For it could not be that Rav Chanina would never head the academy. Nicha nafshid Rav Amar. The Rabbi Amar, for when Rabbi was dying, he said, Chanina berevi chama yitib barosh. The Chanina, the son of Rav Chama, shall sit in the head of the academy. Uktib behu tzadikim. It's written about the tzadikim. Tigzor omer v'yakam lach. And you will make a plan, and it will succeed for you. Thus, it had to be that Rav Chanina would head the academy at some point. Levi's coming to Nahardiyah could therefore only be the result of the death of Rabbi Afes. And so, that's what we're hearing is an amazing bit of logic here. That Rav said, Rebbe made a statement. Rebbe's statement was that Rabbi Chanina was going to be the next to take over the yeshiva. Well, Rabbi Chanina, again, because he didn't want to insult Rav Afes, said, so Rav Afes will lead. So then the fact that, so how do you know Rav Afes died? Maybe Chanina died. So he's saying, no, it can't be a Chanina died, because Rebbe said he would lead the yeshiva. So if a tzaddik says something, his words have power. And therefore, it must be that Rav Afes died, and Rav Chanina was now running the yeshiva. You got that logic? It's amazing logic. They didn't have Facebook. They didn't have the New York Times. They didn't have fake news, real news, whatever. No CNN. And so nobody knew who was alive or dead. But what they're doing is they're seeing this person, Levi, come down and saying, why is Levi here? Why is he here? He used to be in Eretz Yisrael. What's he doing in Nahardiyah? It doesn't make sense he's in Nahardiyah. So it must be that something happened. Something happened. What must have happened? That Afes died. Rav Chanina, his chavrusa, up into the place, and he came here. So that's like I said. The Gemara says, "How do you know that? Maybe just Rav Chanina died, and Rav Afes is still alive, doing well." So he says, "No, it can't be. It can't be because Rebbe said Rav Chanina would lead off, and if a tzaddik says something has to happen." There you go. So what you want to do is you want to get a tzaddik to say you're going to live to 120, and you're all set. Okay, but in health and wealth and so on and so forth, you want that sort of thing. Okay, so now let's move on. Now we go to 60. 60. I marked it. I thought it. It's we're going to Sandal Hamasuma. Okay, I don't see it right now. I'm on. The A. That's fine. Hamasuma. Sandal Hamasuma. I did it. We are on 60B, 60A. That I know. Okay. So now here it is. So now it says, now we're on a different thing. It says, Sandal Amasumar. Just so you know what's going on, it says, the Mishnah said a man should not walk out with a sandal that is, how they translate that, a hob-nailed sandal. Was a hob-nailed sandal? So he explains, a hob-nailed sandal is a wooden sandal whose leather uppers are attached to its sole with nails that protrude through the soles to the underside.
So in other words,
cleats.
It's a wooden bottom. In other words, is that what it is?
It's like cleats
with a leather top.
Yeah,
leather upper. So
but the nails go through to the ground.
Yeah.
So it says, they protrude through the sole to its underside. So it's like cleats.
Oh, okay. In other words, you got to have on the inside, or I guess, the leather would be folded, or the straps would be folded around, and you'd have a flat top nail or something on the tops going through. And in other words, it goes all the way through the wood. They want to make sure it's secured somehow. So therefore, something's got to come out the bottom.
Right.
It's kind of bent or something to keep it in there.
Well, I don't know, but it goes all the way to the bottom. I hold this like cleats. It's going to make holes.
Yeah, if it comes all the way through, it would be,
Right.
Yeah.
So he says, the Gemara will explain why the sages prohibited the wearing of such sandals on the Sabbath, although the Mishnah states only that one may not go out while wearing these sandals. The sages extended the decree to prohibit one from wearing them altogether on Shabbat. But so that is what it says. A man should not walk out with these sort of sandals, not by himself, and the time that he may not go with a single sandal when there is no wound on his foot, and so on and so forth. He can't walk to tefillin. Okay, so now the Gemara says, Sandam Asumar, my Tama, what's the reason that one may not walk out with a hob-nailed sandal on Shabbat? So Amar Shmuel said, the rabbis agreed that such sandals will not be worn due to the following unfortunate incident. Shalafi Gezerah Hayu, that they were fugitives. They were fugitives from the anti-Jewish decree. Once again, Baruch Hashem, our haters were out there making decrees against us. Yeah. So it says the word gezerah, the decree, is the senseless corruption of the text, which originally read hashmad. The term shmad, which means religious persecutions in general, is used by the sages specifically in reference to the unbearable persecutions by the Roman Emperor Hadrian, lived from 117 to 138 CE, which followed the collapse of the Bar Kokhba revolt. Mm-hmm. The word shilfe is interpreted in the other words as head of. Okay. An alternate reading of shalhe, which means the end of. Fine. That's we don't need that. Okay. So So Amar Shmuel said that the rabbis decreed that such sandals not be worn during to the following unfortunate incident. Shalafi shilfe hagazera hayu. They were fugitives from the anti-Jewish decree. Vahayu nechba'in b'ma'ara, and they were hiding in a cave. Okay, and so apparently the cave becomes a good hiding place for many people. Shimon ben Yochai did it. A lot of other people did it. Caves apparently people didn't want to go into. I don't know why. Ve'amru, today people love going to caves. Okay, Ve'amru, and the future said, Hanichnas yikanes. He who wishes to enter may enter. Vayotze al yetze. But he who wishes to leave may not leave. And he said the fugitives were concerned with that anyone leaving the hiding place would be observed as he came out, revealing their refuge to the enemy. They were not concerned about those entering, as no one would enter unless he first checked to see that he was not being watched.
Because they'd come in right after him, in other words, if he saw somebody following him.
Well, they would be careful looking around.
Yeah.
When you're going out, you don't know who's there.
Yeah, so you want to trap yourself someplace.
Right. So you're going to be, so that you can, anyone who wants to, it sounds like the Hotel California. You can enter anytime, you can never leave. Okay?
The Roach Motel.
The Roach Motel. But, so that's what I said. Anyone who wants to enter, they can enter, but you can't leave. Nepach sandal shel echad mehem, the sandal of one of them became reversed. Okay, and what happened was, this was a hobnailed sandal, as is evident from the Gemara below. The sandal was constructed so he could insert his foot into either end. However, the sandal's design was not symmetrical front to back. Thus, if one wore backward, the footprints he would leave would appear as if those of a person walking in the opposite direction. Okay, so what happened was, when he came into the cave, he left footprints which appeared to lead away from the cave, as the footprints of reverse sandal appeared to lead in the opposite direction, which the man had actually walked in. Okay, fine. So when they saw these footprints, they thought that one of the fugitives had exited the cave, and now they feared that the enemy had seen them. And now we're now coming upon the cave to capture them. In their panic, they pushed and kicked at each other, and they killed each other more than their enemies did.
Why?
Because they were afraid. Okay, so they were afraid. They were running in all directions and trying to escape from the killers.
Must have been a small cave. Wait, this happened in the cave or where? Or they were
happened in the cave.
Trying to get out?
Yeah, they trampled each other.
They were panicking, trying to get out, in other words.
Trampled each other.
Huh.
Okay. So that's always a problem.
Oh.
Since this is, and that's why the Gemara says, since this was due in part to the hobnail sandals, that they were wearing, the sages decreed that these sandals should not be worn on the Shabbat.
So is it going to explain what that's got to do with Shabbos, though? So why would that? It seem like you shouldn't wear them at all if that's the case.
The answer is going to be yes. The Gemara will explain it. So he explains one more thing. The hobnail sandals were thick and started with nails similar to those that horses were shod with. Thus, they were capable of inflicting considerable damage.
Yeah.
Okay.
They would scratch the floors.
Yeah. Sorry.
They would scratch the tiles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They would do a lot of damage. Okay.
It's like your mother would tell you if you were used to. Some people used to put taps on shoes. You don't wear those in the house.
Oh, taps!
Like farm
taps on the bottom.
Taps also they had nails.
Yeah, a metal tap on the bottom of your heel. They would make the heel would last longer. That's what was the reason. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
There's like farmer shoes. They used to have lots of nails coming out.
Okay, so let's see what happens. So it says, Rabbi Eli ben Elazar Omer. So Rabbi Eli, son of Rabbi Elazar, said, "But Ma'ara HaYushvam, the fugitives were hiding in a cave, and okay, fine. V'sham'u kol me'al gabei ha'ma'ara, and they heard a voice above. They heard a noise above the cave. Svarim hayushabaw aleim oivim. They mistakenly thought that their enemies were coming to capture them. So once again, and it's different. This is a second version of the probable case. So they heard the noise, and they pushed. They in a panic they trampled each other, and so there were more killed that day than the enemies did. Since this was due in part to the hobnail sandals, the sages decreed that hobnail sandals should not be worn on Shabbat. Okay, let's continue further. And now a third version of the incident. Notice, the bottom line is we don't know what happened. There are three stories about these hobnailed, what do you call it? Yeah.
The sandals.
Hobnail, right. Okay, so third version. Rami bar Yechezkel Amar, Rami bar Yechezkel said, B'nei Knesset hayu yoshim. So now the fugitives were sitting in the shul. V'shamu kol mecharei Beit Knesset, and they heard noises from behind the shul. They thought that the enemies were coming in to capture them. In event, they pushed against each other. They killed more of each other than their enemies did. Okay. But Amru, in that time, the rabbi said, Al Yitzi Adam V'Sadal Masumar, that a man may not go out with a hobnail sandal on Shabbat. Okay, so he says in 39, so due to the hobnail sandals they were wearing, that's why they heard the noise. This follows Rashi's explanation of the Gemara. Tosfot, however, explained that the noise that was heard above the cave, and presumably the noise that was made behind the synagogue in Rami Bar Yecheskel's version of the incident, was made by the hobnail sandals of passer-buyers. And it was for this reason that the sages prohibited wearing them, and not because the fugitives were wearing hobnail sandals. Tosfot does not explain the problem caused by the hobnail sandal in Shmuel's version of the incident. Maharam suggests that it was a symmetrical design of the nails and the sandals that made the reversed footprints seem like the one leading away from refuge. Sfat Emet suggests that in fact all three of these incidents occurred, and says it's decreed based on cumulative destruction caused by hobnail sandals. Okay, so it's either three stories or one story, just we don't know all the facts. We're guessing. Okay. So Iachi, but if this is the reason for the decree, B'chol Nami Litzar, let it also be forbidden on the weekdays.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says we're concerned the repetition of this incident would occur. Why they only prohibit the wearing of such sandals on the Sabbath? They should forbid them anytime. Okay.
Oh. So the.
Okay. So the answer, the Gemara's first answer is Ma'asiki Hava v'Shabbat Hava.
Yeah.
When this incident occurred, it was on the Shabbat that occurred, and the sages prohibited the wearing of the sandals only in circumstances similar to those in which the incident occurred. And he said the sages were not concerned that the tragedy would occur another time. They merely wished to prevent people from being saddened by the memory of the calamity. They accomplished this by prohibiting the wearing of these sandals on a day similar to the day upon which the tragedy occurred.
I was going to say, it's because it's like these evildoers today. They know we gather on Shabbos, right? Mm-hmm. This guy, what was it, Pittsburgh and California, and that would, so they know we're in the shul, and so maybe that's so.
So you're saying the rabbi should make a decree we shouldn't go to shul?
No, that
on Shabbos.
I mean because that's when the Romans would come to look for them. Probably, didn't they forbid worship altogether or something like that?
Well, it depends on what. Yeah, it depends on what the decree of that particular day was, but it was a dual-edged sword. I mean, I want to be fair to the Romans for a second. It's not so clear. In other words, you had Bar Kochba. The Romans wanted taxes.
Yeah.
All they were interested in was money, money control. Okay, they didn't really care about religion because they were polytheistic. What do they care which religion you're going to follow? Well, it's irrelevant. What do they care about the food you're going to have? It's irrelevant, okay? You want to charge yourselves more money for a piece of steak? That's your business. Nothing to do with me. We get more taxes from that, okay? But they were very... if we trust history, then they were very... Romans were very afraid of... What are they called? When they're afraid of rebellion, they're
insurrections.
Yeah, but what do you call that? They're when somebody's afraid of something that's not really there.
Oh, paranoid.
Paranoid. They're paranoid. They're paranoid against rebellion. So once they see these people who are independent, and furthermore, you have a Bar Kochba, and who's yelling, "We want independence from the Roman state. We want blah 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 blah." Well, you're causing a headache. Yeah. You're really causing a headache. So we have to make a decree against you. And so they make a decree. So no more assemblies, no more this, no more that, no more circumcision, no more studying Torah. Because what is the essence of the Jewish people? To this very day, what is the binding factor of the Jewish people? I don't care if you're Reform, Reconstructionist, non-religious, conservative.
Egypt.
Torah. Torah has always been our central book that we've always looked at the Torah. Again, even your secularist Jew is going to quote the Torah. In one way or another, they're going to quote the Torah. There's a uniqueness of the Torah that we go back to. No matter how far away we are removed. The Torah's there. We always have, everybody has the same Torah. Nobody's ever updated the Torah. Nobody's ever changed the Torah.
Even if it's only social justice, there's still
right, it's in the Torah.
Not just one single stroke.
Right. So I'm saying nobody, Reform, Conservative, Reconstructionist, Karaite, Sadducee, go as far back as you want. Nobody's ever touched the Torah. That's tremendous binding factor for everybody. So we all have that to fall back on. And that's what we go to that. The Reform movement, again, I'm picking on the poor Reform movement, but the Reform movement majored in Bible. That was the whole thing. They knew it backwards and now they don't, but they knew it backwards and forwards in those days. That was how they got their moral ethics. Okay, they rejected ritualistic law. I'm not going to argue with the rejected, but they knew it. To this very day, again, listen to any one of their speeches. They're always quoting Torah. It's beautiful. Baruch Hashem, they quote Torah. They quote the Gemara. Heck, I went again, my kid had a recital in the Seventh-day Adventist church. Okay. I met the preacher, and he said, I love how it's interesting how outsiders see Jews. That we're all one big family. He wished that the Christians could be that. Okay, I didn't want to disabuse him of the notion, but he said when he looks for those sort of things, when he looks for peace, he looks to our Talmud. Here's a a Seventh-day Adventist going online, Googling whatever he wants, and he's looking Talmud peace. It's unbelievable how we have a good sales pitch. Okay, great. But that's what's going on. We all look. That's what I'm saying. The Romans were afraid of us because of that. We were all unified when it came to our source. I'm not saying we all knew it. I'm not saying that we weren't assimilated. We certainly were, but there was something that they were afraid of because they saw our assemblies as a place to foster rebellion. And on top of that, we were rebellious. Let's not forget, Bar Kokhba was there.
Didn't they also didn't like that Jews wouldn't acknowledge Caesar as God or something like that?
Again.
We still had our final authority, not the Romans were not the final authority.
Right. But they really only cared. Again, if we would have been quiet and lived in our own little place and not rebelled and just said, pay tax, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Leave me alone. To quote, who was that? Jesus said that? Okay. To quote him. Okay. Give him what he wants. Leave me alone. And we can learn Torah all day long. We can live an idyllic life. They wouldn't have cared. It's only because, again, if I go historically, that's what the history is saying. But because we kept rebelling, because you had the Zealots, you had the Essenes who went into, they rebelled by not being part of the community. Then you had the Sadducees who were selling out to the Romans. And then you had the Pharisees who were religiously fighting against the Romans. That's all. So, they were thinking, it's not worth it. So let's make decrees, and that's it. And everybody was afraid. They were afraid of getting caught. The old expression that my wife's grandfather used to say is, when a police officer stops you, it's because you did something wrong. It's not because they want to stop you. You did something wrong, so deal with that. Okay, just cop to it. So the same thing here. If we had done nothing wrong, what would have been the decrees? They wouldn't have made decrees upon us, right? If we're doing everything right, by the way, why is that true? Why is it really true? If we're following Torah, then Hashem's protecting us. I always said it, if we keep Shabbat, if we keep I'm talking about all of us, not just a few of us. If we all keep all the laws, we become the impregnable ones. God protects us throughout everything. They cannot do anything to us. The only reason that Hashkafa says, the philosophy, Jewish philosophy is saying, the only reason that we have all of these things going on today is because Hashem is trying to wake us up to follow Him. And so sometimes He hits us hard. May it be Pittsburgh, may it be other places. Sometimes He hits us hard. The Holocaust, He hits us hard. But He's trying to say, come on, wake up. You have to come back to us. You have a lot of problems with that philosophy. I'm not going to argue it in the 5 minutes I have, but it's something there that we all have to deal with and come to a moment to say, okay, what really happened? And what does Hashem really want from us? And why does, he went to, a rabbi got his 2 fingers shot off, and one person died. And or the people who were in Pittsburgh, where you had all they were doing was davening, and they survived the Holocaust, but they couldn't survive a machine gunner who comes with a gun. So, and that's all because Hashem said no, you won't survive this one. That's all. If you think about it, if you could survive the Holocaust with all the shikats that went on there, what's a bullet here and there? If Hashem wants you to survive, the bullet would have missed you. Like with David, he throws a spear and David just happens to duck. Okay, so if Hashem wants, he can do anything. But again, that's what we're dealing with here. So what you have is these guys sitting in the shul, and again, they hear something, they don't know what's going on. Maybe it was an illegal assembly, and that's why they were scared. Certainly in the cave they were afraid for that. So now the question is, okay, if you're going to blame it on the synagogue though, so then, and since it happened on Shabbat, you're going to say that's why it is, and that's why he didn't go all the way through. So he says, wait a second, I'll give you one more. But Yom Tov l'shtarei. But if that's true, let it be permitted to wear the sandals on Yom Tov. Because for the incident didn't occur on Yom Tov, and if the sages only wished to extend the prohibition to the days similar to the one upon which the tragedy occurred, the prohibition shall apply to Yom Tov. So alama tanan. So why then do we learned the Mishnah? Mishalchin kelim v'Yom Tov. We may send garments as gifts on Yom Tov, bein teforim, bein she'en teforim, whether the garments are sewn or not sewn. Aval lo sandal hamasumar, but we may not send a hobnoble sandal v'lo minal shel tafor b'Yom Tov, and we must send an unsewn shoe as gifts on Yom Tov. This mission is proof that a hob-nailed sandal may not be worn on the Yom Tov. So the Gemara answers, b'Shabbat my time. What's the reason the sages forbade the wearing of the hob-nailed sandals on Shabbat? The Ika Kenufia, because there's a gathering of people at that time. The Yom Tov Nami Ika Nami Iknufia. But on Yom Tov there's also a gathering of people. Thus the sages extended the decree to include Yom Tov as well. Tanat Sibor Ika Kenufia. But on the public fast there's also a gathering of people. Litzar, let it also be prohibited to wear hobnoble sandals on the fast days as well, right? So you have all the rabbis went back and forth here, and just want to make sure I'm not going too far. Okay, so it says Ma'aseki hava b'knufia b'yisora. The incident occurred on the Shabbat, a day when there is a gathering due to prohibition against performing leva hacha. Here in the case of the fast, however, Kenufia Hava, the gathering is of people that are permitted to do work. Since the gathering of fast days is not similar to the gathering of the Shabbat, the decree was not extended to include the fast days. Okay. Right. Okay. Fine. And that's what it was. Okay. We'll have to stop there. Very good. So now you know the rest of the story.
It might also be the fact that